The Mexican Revolution, Prompt 2 by Yue Zhang, was a promise versus a reality. The Mexican Revolution, which took place between 1910 and 1920, promised major changes for Mexican society. Revolutionary leader called for land reform, social justice, and greater democracy. The Constitution of 1917 promised land reform, labor rights, and limits on foreign control. Some lands was reimbursed through NGO system, and workers gained legal protections. However, these reforms were slow and uneven. By the mid-20th century, political power was controlled by a single party, the PRI, which ruled for decades. Many rural communities remained poor and economic inequality continued. Because of this, historians argue that the revolution promised more than it delivered. Social change happened, but it was incomplete and often controlled by the above. An important question we will ask is why revolution seems necessary. Before the revolution, Mexico was ruled by Porfirio Diaz for more than 30 years. His government brought economic growth, but wealth was concentrated among elites and foreign investors. Most peasants had lost their land and worked on large haciendas under harsh conditions. Journalists and writers exposed this inequality. Novels like The Underdogs by Mariano and Azuela portrayed the suffering and chaos of people, shaping how later generations understood the revolution. During this time, anger was growing among workers because of poor working conditions and low wages. Major labor conflicts showed how serious the situation had become. The Cananea strike in 1906 and the Rio Blanco strike in 1907 were important protests against injustice. Many workers were punished or even killed for demanding better conditions. Journalists began exposing corruption and abuse, helping people understand how unfair the system was. As people continued to protest, and many people began to believe that peaceful change was no longer possible, and that revolution was necessary. While newspapers reported on poverty and the struggles of workers, helping to show why change was needed. Writers described the everyday suffering of people, and The Underdogs by Mariano and Azuela, published in 1915, the novel showed the chaos and hardships of how revolution and helped shape public understanding of the human impact overall the society. Emiliano Zapata represents the fight for land reform and the idea of land and liberty for peasants. In the north, Pancho Villa became a symbol of resistance and hope for poor communities. They were widely spread for their names through photographs and posters, helped them become national heroes and lasting icons for the revolution. After the fighting ended, the Mexican government promoted these revolutionary symbols to unify the country. Artists like Diego Rivera painted large murals that represented the revolution as a heroic struggle of the people against injustice. The visual culture helped turn a complex and violent conflict into a clear national story about social justice and their growth. Well, one of the most important results of the Mexican Revolution was the Constitution of 1917. It was promised the major social reforms, labor rights, and limits on foreign ownership of Mexico's resources. The government also created an ejido system, which reimbursed some lands to rural communities. Many changes were slow and uneven, and many rural communities continued to live in the poverty. Political power also became centralized, and the Institutional Revolutionary Party, or PRI, dominated Mexican politics for many decades. Social and economic inequality continued, shows that the revolution did not fully achieve all of these goals. While the Mexican Revolution became the symbol of Mexican identity, the revolution became more than a historical event. It became a story about justice and rights of people. The revolution's biggest impact was not only on its policies, but its national representation. The Mexican Revolution became more powerful as a story and a memory as complete social transformation.